Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family, in their passion, in their careers, and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. We are in the 20-yard line of the RoarCon here, and it's a great event. What do you like to take away from an event like this?
Well, first and foremost, it's people. It's people getting to know people in a deeper, better level. Obviously, from the vendor standpoint, getting to understand and get to know, great vendors. And this being, the first RoarCon event, I was really intrigued. Lion Guard's a magnificent company. Michelle Accardi, I've known for a long, long time. She's a blessing to our community. And, we're here in Dallas, my hometown, Dallas Cowboys. Your favorite team, I'm sure. I mean, how blessed can you be to be in Dallas Cowboy headquarters, a huge Cowboy fan like you? How blessed can you be? How blessed can you be?
You love it. How long have you been a Cowboy fan?
I've been a Cowboy, well, I moved down from Detroit to Dallas back in 1983 and became a Cowboy fan pretty much right away. Growing up in Detroit, we had the Lions, which were not the best team in the world by any stretch. We had the Ford family, who were great at building cars back then, but in regards to owning a football team, they didn't care that much in the big picture about winning. So moved down here, got my Cowboy gear, and it was hard not to live in Dallas, not become a Cowboy fan. So I'm blessed to be here, the world headquarters for the Dallas Cowboys.
So your history: you were an MSP.
I was.
And then you sold.
I am.
You still are.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. So tell me what happened.
Well, so moved down from Detroit to Dallas back in 1983. Graduated Michigan State University. I was always in the restaurant bar business and got into that, back here in Dallas. Waited on a manager, a couple employees of the first retail computer company in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex called CompuShop. Got them drunk, sold them everything on the menu, and they're like, Neil, who are you? And do you want to sell computers? So got into computers. Said sure. Interviewed, got a job the next day, started computers. Did very, very well. Opened up my business 26 and a half years. I had Preferred Technology Solutions. Got a call from my best technology friend, Greg Starr, who was the first major acquisition of Meriplex. Said, Neil, will you talk to Dave Henley, our CEO? I said, sure. And one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I became Meriplex. It's been a magnificent journey. I was always big in community. I always wanted to give back, make a difference, whether it be, in peer groups or in distributor communities or even just, civic local events and stuff. And for me, I want to do something much, much bigger and better than I could at Preferred Technology Solutions. So talking to Dave Henley, our CEO, still our CEO, magnificent man, it just, all the parts fit. And I wasn't supposed to get into M&A. As you know, I'm sure, I became the M&A guy, very successful on the M&A, stage. But when I sold preferred to Meriplex, I was supposed to go and shake hands in local community, talk about Meriplex, hand the relationships to a salesperson, and rinse and repeat. And obviously, my career, my passion took a turn, and I became Meriplex's M&A person. The way that started, because I was big in community, I have a lot of technology friends, and my reputation's always been one where I'm brutally honest. My father taught me when I was a young boy, if you never tell a lie, you never have to worry about what you said because you know. So I've always been, very, very brutally honest in my ways and stuff. And I was talking to a friend that owned a technology company here in Dallas, and all of a sudden, he became Meriplex. I get a call from a California owner, a friend of mine, needed some work in Dallas, and all of a sudden they became Meriplex, and leadership and the private equity partners like, how are you doing what you're doing? Well, because I'm respected, I know a lot of people, I'm passionate about what we're building, growing, doing, and I guess it's, it's easy for me. And that's how leadership said, Neil, you're no longer just local, you're going to be doing this for Meriplex, and I'm extremely proud of all we've done, all we've accomplished. In these 4 years, August 1st would be 4 years since I became Meriplex. It's been great for my employees, great for my customers. Doing what I'm doing, it makes my toes tingle. I'm so passionate and excited about what Meriplex is and what we're building, what we're growing, what we're doing. That's just a blast every day, pushing the initiative forward. I like to say I make owners very wealthy, equity holders very wealthy. Customers are, we're so much stronger support-wise, service-wise, talent-wise. So customers, are very, very happy. Employees, no longer a glass ceiling. We're growing organically fast as well as inorganically. So the glass ceiling that many people have within an organization pretty much, disappears. The cream truly rises, to the top. We went from about 80 people when they bought my company. We're about 700 today. Houston's our corporate office. I was in Dallas, so 2 cities after they bought me. We're in 12 cities now, and there's to be many more to come. And I'm so excited about that.
What is it about MSPs that attracts you?
In which way? Let's rephrase the question that I can give a perfect answer.
Why do you like working with MSPs?
Well, for many different reasons. Number one, managed service provider, MSP, they're critical, to American business, to American security, and just the type of individual that starts an MSP. If you really think about historically in our industry, you're either a salesman that said, hey, I can do it better, and opened up their MSP, VAR MSP back when, or as an engineer that said, hey, I can do it better, and open up my VAR MSP. Very rarely has it been a sophisticated Harvard MBA that, says, oh, let me open up a MSP.
Interesting.
So, the level of, first, why do I love working with these people? They're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is a critical services they provide to other entrepreneurs. Security, efficiency, all these leadership, all these different things. If you're an insurance company, you're great at selling insurance, but chances are you're not very good at the technology side. An MSP can walk in that door, help secure them, help create efficiencies they couldn't otherwise, help provide the leadership. We're supposed to be on the cutting edge, and we are. Understanding, what's coming out from the organizations that are out there, and being able to bring that knowledge to the entrepreneurs, it's a wonderful thing. So the spirit that we have. In our industry, as you know, you're either moving forward knowledge-wise or you're going back knowledge-wise. You're never staying right there. So in our industry, MSP is a group of people working for an organization to advance the causes, of the organization, of the customer base, of the individuals, themselves. And in our industry, you truly have to be a sponge. You have to be a sponge, continuous learning if you're going to be successful in our industry. So it attracts a certain type of individual. And for me, it's a dash between life and death. How many people can you positively influence in this world? With what I do on the M&A side, it's great for the employees, it's great for the customers, it's great for the ownership. It's just, can positively affect, so many people. And just like they can positively affect in their positions as an engineer, as a salesperson, as a leader in any MSP, if you really think about it, how many people do you touch on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Your customers, their employees, their employees' families. And it's a magnificent industry. It keeps you sharp. And it's so desperately needed.
What's a perfect candidate for you to talk with?
The bigger you get, first and foremost, that changes as Meriplex, we went from about 80 people less than 4 years ago to about 700 today, from 2 offices currently to 12 offices. The prospect, the target that we'd look at today is much different than what we'd look at, 3.5 years ago. So for Meriplex, we, number one, want highly successful MSPs. There's many out there that want organizations that are failing, organizations that aren't doing a good job. That's the exact opposite from Meriplex. We want the best of the best. Companies are doing really, really good. They're very, very profitable, and we're going to pay for that. We want, and the reason being is because from a leadership standpoint, from a talent, if they're successful, they have some really good A talent, A and B talent. It's not a bunch of, a couple A's, but a bunch of C's and D's, talent. Not that saying that if you're not successful, you're a bunch of C's and D's, it could be an educational thing, but, we want successful. The bigger Meriplex gets, the bigger types of organizations, $500,000 of EBITDA, when you're, a 700 person organization, successful 700 person organization, doesn't move the needle, very much. So Meriplex is blessed. I'm blessed. We're blessed in many, many ways to be a major player going after the larger, highly successful MSPs and show them ways to do something much, much bigger and better. When you're an MSP, you can stay with your current ownership and achieve many times some really, really good things. Or you can become part of the bigger team, the bigger Meriplex team, get a bunch of cash, take some chips off the table, roll equity forward, and really build that equity to where the second bite of the apple many times is much, much bigger than the first. But an example, Meriplex in my time has had 2 private equity firms. Clairvest out of Toronto, about a $2 billion private equity firm, fantastic firm. Right now with Vitruvian Partners out of London, England. They bought into us about 1.5 years ago, about $22 billion private equity firm. They were looking for an organization like Meriplex for the longest time and finally found us. But what $1 of equity, when Clairvest, this is public information so I can share. $1 of equity became $17 when we got recapitalized. Wow. Clairvest kept every penny they could, trying to find 51% to sell to Vitruvian, was very, very difficult. So back to your question. We're looking for quality companies, usually, let's say 50 employees and more. Many times, the last 3 purchases had over 100 employees. But let's just use 50 employees or more, because usually in those states, they're going to have the EBITDA that makes it, to help move the needle. When I look at M&A, I look at it in 2 different ways. one geography where we are as Meriplex and where we're not as Meriplex, as well as the verticals. What verticals can I bring in through an acquisition that I can layer over the Meriplex nation and really bring that vertical, to benefit everybody. You know, I'm looking at some of the bigger companies out there, some of the ones that have brought other MSPs together as one. We look for companies with strong organic growth as well as inorganic growth in those situations. If they're just growing inorganically only but have terrible organic growth, that's probably not going to be a good company, for us, because they don't have the right management, this, many times skill sets. But there's exceptions to every rule. But for the most part, quality companies, larger companies, and companies that have some special sauces in leadership, senior leadership, in verticals, great geographies. One unique thing about Meriplex is, and this is something that excites the heck out of me, when I sold Preferred, one of the reasons I sold is because I wasn't big enough and powerful enough. As Preferred Technology Solutions here in Dallas, I'd go to business dinners. Dallas-Fort Worth is one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in the United States, year over year. I'd go to charity events, business dinners, business lunches, sometimes sit at the speakers' tables, the movers and shakers of Dallas-Fort Worth. But I knew I wasn't big enough to truly service the larger organizations, and they knew that I wasn't big enough once we started, talking about the companies and everything else. They knew that we didn't have the talent really to be able to service, them either. And that was so frustrating. So when I had the opportunity to become Meriplex, I knew it's going to be better for my customers, it's going to be better for my employees. And for me, the exciting thing was, all of a sudden it could say, yes, I can service you. We do have the sophistication, the talent, all these different things. But something that makes Meriplex very, very unique versus all my others I sit in panels with and things like that, is Meriplex, when you look at, the customer sizes, ideal customer profile. To us, SMB is a vertical, and we do a very, very good job in the SMB. It's a different touch point. But where we excel as an organization is, let's say, that 200 to 2,000 end users, that mid-market, mid-enterprise. When you look at our industry, you're a long-time veteran of this industry. You know the industry extremely well. I'm 40 years in this industry, I do too. There's tens of thousands of SMB MSPs. They're great at 50 user and less, 25 user and less, 100 user and less, sometimes. They may have a handful of larger companies, but in all honesty, many of them are struggling to really, really support well the larger organizations. When we go into a territory, we do a great job with the existing customer base, the SMB customer base. Again, that's a vertical, certain touch point. But we go up market. Again, the marketing we put in, the sophistication that we have, the operational efficiency, the talent, all these different things fit very, very well. So there's tens of thousands of SMB MSPs all over the place. When you think of the enterprise, think of the IBM Global Services for a moment. You have a handful of those types of organizations, the WePros and things like that. When you look at that mid-market, mid-enterprise, there's a spot there where there's no company like Meriplex that's really, really focusing on the bigger organizations. They're too small for the IBM Global Services, companies to really focus on. They're too big for the normal MSP to do a good job on. So, we go after that target market. So when we go into a territory, we do a great job with the existing customer base. The marketing, we go upscale. We train the staff up on how to deal with the bigger customers. We can surge the talent from all over the Meriplex nation and bring that talent in so they can win. We can bring value in those situations. And that's one of the really, really exciting things. There's so many people like I was that want to do something so much bigger and better. But really, they had their challenges in doing that. I talk about the story. You know, when a transaction happens, T-day is transaction day. T- is before transaction. T+ is after transaction. What story are you going to tell, your customers on T-day, as well as your employees on T-day? You know, with Meriplex, the story, because of the talent, you know, all the investment we've made to be this magnificent company with all these resources to bring to bear on a customer, you know, they're nodding their head saying, yeah, I understand why you did this. You know, when you talk to your employees, you know, you have glass ceilings. You know, when you're a smaller MSP, you know, there's certain glass ceilings. You know, the employees are only going to be able to go up so far. And because we're growing fast organically as well as inorganically, it breaks many of those, you know, glass ceilings. Furthermore, geography. You know, geography-wise, because we have 12 offices, you know, we have geographic ability. So when an employee goes home talking to their wife, their husband, their partner, whoever it may be, their family, the earthquake just hit. We just got acquired. Many, it's the oh shit moment.
Right.
You know, am I going to get fired? Am I going to, you know, what's going to happen? You know, we feel we've turned that around. I know we've turned that around. The story they can come back is, oh my God, this is a good thing for me, for our family, for our company, for our customers. Because again, the upward mobility, the geographic mobility, and I'm blessed to have a front seat to what's happening with Meriplex. You know, I work with the CEO, the Chief Strategy Officer, and the private equity. It's my personal goal within a few years to have a Meriplex office in every NFL city.
Wow.
And I have confidence that we'll accomplish that. Why NFL city? Because they have the corporate backing, if you will, that ideal customer profile, the 200, let's say 2,000 end users. They have enough to support. They have enough to support an NFL team. You know, they're going to be a great target for a Meriplex. That doesn't mean we're not looking for any tertiary markets too, but that's my personal goal. And when I put my mind to something, I'm going to achieve it. Exciting times.
It is exciting times. How many MSPs do you think fit that profile in the United States of 50 employees or more? Give it a round number.
How many? That's a good question. You know, when I come to a conference like this, you know, there's two things I like to do. You know, number one is obviously I'm there. Hey, what's your name? Tell me about your company. If it's something I'm interested in, you know, move things along. But from a personal standpoint too, the dash between life and death is very, very important. How many people can you positively influence in this world? And I'm an older man. You know, you can see it. You know, we all know it. You know, you have different stages of your life. There's nothing I like better than helping younger people succeed. You know, so whether you're a 5-person MSP or a 50-person MSP or a 500-person MSP, you know, back to my roots, I'm going to give brutally honest information, trying to help you avoid mistakes, enhance successes. And you know, when you say how many are 50 and up, I wish I had a number, but I know that every major NFL city has multiple.
Right.
Many tertiary markets, you know, have, you know, some of those. And all those organizations, if they're not talking to me yet, really should be, because from a financial standpoint, I can show on a piece of paper how you can do much better shoulder to shoulder with me on my team, with our great leadership doing what they're doing on the organic side, with me doing what I'm doing on the inorganic side, with the backing of both Clairvest and Vitruvian, because Clairvest kept every penny they could in Meriplex. With the financial backing that we can take that dollar of equity and make it many, many times more. Something to talk about also is, you know, Meriplex is one Meriplex. You know, we're not, you know, there's a lot of organizations out there do similar types of things as I do that are going, you Preferred Technology Solutions, my company, an X company, or they keep the brand name throughout the nation, and they truly don't integrate that much. They integrate some stuff, but your different pods without that geographic ability to for an employee really to be able to move from one office to another business. They're my guys, type of thing. But we're one Meriplex. We're building a brand. Our goal, our mission, is to build a nationally recognized brand, coast to coast, north to south, in America, for the SMB, mid-market, mid-enterprise. We want to be that company that those organizations think of because of how good of a job we do. And again, I have no doubt that in time, we're already accomplishing it, but we will fully accomplish that goal.
So if they're not at that threshold of 50 employees or more, do you even want to talk to them?
Yes, I mean, for two different reasons. Number one is employee, that's an approximation. Again, they could have verticals that are interesting to me. They could be a 35-person firm or 30-person firm that is blowing and going, great leadership, great focus, that's going after, our ideal client profile. And for sure, I'd love to talk to those people, just to talk about the art of the possible. But again, the go-giver mentality, the very least, I talk about two things in our industry on stage on a regular basis. Number one, obviously, is M&A. I'm very good at what I do. But the second thing is, if I knew then what I know now about running a business, running an MSP, what would I have done differently? And that's where I can help that 10-person, 20-person firm one day become that 50-person, 100-person firm. Again, I want to give back. And that's what I love. That's what makes me happy, is giving back. So I'll talk to a 5-person firm, a 2-person firm, a 20-person firm, but it'll be different things. It won't be about acquisition, but it'll be about how they can position themselves to help their customers better, give better opportunities to their employees, obviously help themselves and their families from an equity standpoint, financially, do much, much better. So talking, you may understand, and you've known me for a long time, talking's never been an issue for me. And
great at communicating.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you're healing from your back. What happened with your back again?
So, pulling a garden hose sideways, I blew out my L3, L4, and L4, L5, and totally blew it out. And it was
back problems before.
Not really. I had some burning feeling every once in a while. Every few months, I get a little bit of burning on my side, and a week later, it'd go away. And hey, it's no big deal. It's a muscle or something. But literally, I was pulling a garden hose sideways, and I went to jerk at it, and blew out my L3, L4, L4, L5.
Wow.
And it's one of those things. Here's Neil Medwed, strong individual. I finally have gained back the weight that I lost. Right now, about 182 pounds. I was down to 151.
Wow.
We'll talk about that, in a second. But how quickly, in a moment of time, going from a strong individual to someone who's basically on their back.
Wow.
And that's the third thing now I can talk about, on stage, is how quickly, your life, can change. But, so I'm back on the circuit. This happened August timeframe. I spoke at the Exchange Conference, as well as the Build It conference. And both of those I had to leave early because it was just too painful. But, I'm a man of my word, and I was committed, and I was going to do, what I did. But, spoke at those conferences and knew that, let's say it this way, I know why people commit suicide. And that's a tough thing to say, but the pain was, scale of 1 to 10, it was a 15. Wow. That's why I lost 31 pounds. When pain's that bad, you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't sleep. But luckily there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and I have my wonderful wife Diane, my daughter and son-in-law, and my grandkids, and I lived very much because of the light at the end of the tunnel, as well as for them. And being on your back, I'm a type A personality, 100 miles an hour. don't slow down, type of thing. And it's a lesson in patience. It teaches you many things. What was important beforehand isn't as important after something like this happens in your life. What wasn't important all of a sudden is, again, very important, afterwards. So I'm getting back on what we call the circuit. My job's to go to conferences and talk to. That's where the MSP owners are. And I'm taking it slow. I walk slower. I have a lot of nerve pain still in my legs. I'm 8.5 months into a year recovery, and God willing, all the pain and numbness and tingling will go away in my legs and ankles, and the strength will continue to, keep on building. But that is one thing that again, you don't expect something like that to happen, right. Pulling a garden hose, but guess what? It did. Yeah. It taught me to slow down, and appreciate life, appreciate how special each and every day is, because by golly, it's special.
It sure is.
It's special. And, one thing, big takeaway forever, listening to this podcast, I always wonder to myself, if I was working out, I mean, you work out a lot, you can tell by, you're a workout type of guy. I wasn't. And if I was working out, if going to the gym a couple times a week, would this have happened? And probably not. At least I'm assuming that it wouldn't have happened. So, take care of yourself. Health is so important. If you don't have health, you don't have anything. And again, those are things that I've learned. If you're an MSP owner, have plans for what if something happens to you like happened with Neil. I was blessed that I sold preferred to Meriplex, because if I had to try to run the company while I was dealing with what I was dealing with, there would have been hardships at the very least, type of thing. So, the legacy planning, work on, I never thought it would happen to me, but guess what? It did. It can happen to you too. So start thinking about those things. Whether it's your wife, whether it's your husband, have those serious conversations. The what if, conversations, because you never know. You get hit by a car, you can get, a terrible diagnosis, or you can throw your back out like I did. Prepare, just in case. Hopefully, God willing, you'll never have to use that preparation, that planning. But if you do, it's there. And take care of yourself physically. Physical, working out and stuff helps your mental aptitude. Sure is, helps you see clearer. And again, would I have been in this situation if I was working out? Only, the good Lord knows that, but I have to think that I kicked myself in the ass for not. If I would have taken better care of myself, would I have gone through this terrible, tragic situation?
Like Arlen Sorensen says, you have to plan. You're going to leave your MSP horizontal or vertical, right? Have a plan to exit. Neil, it's always great to see you. I saw you at IT by Design last year, and you were in pain, and then I saw you subsequently. You got better and better, and today, what a big smile. Great to see you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Brother, love you, man. You do a great job.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.